How do you actually become friends with a hummingbird, not just a backyard visitor they tolerate? Today we're going over 5 ways backed by real science that can help you build true trust with these tiny birds. And stick around for tip 5 because we're going to talk about getting a hummingbird to feed right from your hand. Think of a hummingbird's brain like a tiny GPS system mixed with a calendar. It's tracking locations, timing, and rewards constantly. And once you understand how that system works, you can use it to get them to trust you faster than most people think is possible. What's wild is that this is happening inside a brain smaller than your thumbnail, which makes the whole process feel even more impressive once you see it play out in your own backyard. The first thing you need to do is feed them on a strict schedule. Researchers studying wild hummingbirds found that they can track up to 8 different flowers at once, and it's not just the location they remember. They actually remember how long ago they last drained that flower of nectar, so they know almost exactly when it will be full again. Scientists call this time-place learning, and it means a hummingbird isn't just flying around randomly hoping to get lucky. It's running a mental clock for every food source it knows about. So when you refill your feeder at the same time every day, you're not just being a good host. You're plugging yourself directly into a memory system these birds already use to survive. Over time, they start expecting you at that exact moment, the same way they'd expect a flower to refill. Keep your nectar fresh and your feeder clean, because reliability is the whole foundation this trust is built on. A simple mix of 1 part sugar to 4 parts water is all they need, and changing it every few days in warm weather keeps it from fermenting or growing mold, which can actually be harmful. A feeder that's empty or dirty breaks the pattern they've come to count on, and that resets the trust you've been building. Once you've got their internal clock working for you, the next step is using color the right way, because hummingbirds are not seeing the world the way you do. Humans have 3 color receptors in our eyes, but hummingbirds have a 4th one that picks up ultraviolet light. That means they can see color combinations that don't even exist for us, like ultraviolet mixed with red or ultraviolet mixed with green. 2 feeders that look exactly the same shade of red to you could look completely different to a hummingbird. This is actually why some feeders seem to randomly outperform others even when the nectar inside is identical. It's not always about how bright or how red something looks to your eyes. It's about how it reflects light in a range you can't even see. Even flowers use this trick in nature, with petals that guide hummingbirds toward the nectar using ultraviolet patterns invisible to us. So when picking a feeder, red accents still help, but don't assume one red feeder is the same as another in a hummingbird's eyes. Try a couple of different styles near each other, and watch which one they actually prefer. You might be surprised by what wins. Now that you understand how their memory and their vision work, the third step is becoming a consistent, recognizable shape to them. Birds like crows and pigeons have already been proven in studies to tell individual humans apart using visual patterns like clothing color, hair, and the way a person moves. Hummingbirds likely use those same kinds of cues, and some researchers believe sound may play a role too, since these birds are sensitive to the buzz and pitch of their own wing beats. So if you wear the same color shirt and stand in roughly the same spot every time you fill the feeder, you're giving them an easy pattern to lock onto. You basically turn yourself into one more reliable landmark in their daily routine, just like a flower they've memorized. Move slowly and avoid sudden movements, because fast or jerky motions don't match the calm, predictable pattern they're learning to trust. Every sudden flinch or quick reach can undo progress that took days to build. So far we've covered timing, color, and consistency, but the next step is something a lot of people get wrong without realizing how serious it actually is. Step 4 is respecting just how fragile their energy supply really is. A hummingbird's heart can beat over 1,200 times a minute while it's flying, which is close to the physical limit of what a heart that size can even do. But at night, their body shuts almost everything down. Heart rate can crash to as low as 50 beats per minute, body temperature can drop nearly 50 degrees, and their metabolism slows by around 95% just so they can survive until morning. Even their breathing slows down dramatically, sometimes pausing for minutes at a time, which is part of how they stretch a tiny fuel tank through a long, cold night. They are running on the thinnest possible energy margin every single day. This is exactly why suddenly pulling away a food source, especially heading into fall or winter, can be more than just disappointing for them. It can be genuinely risky. A lot of people worry that keeping feeders up too long will trap hummingbirds and stop them from migrating, but research shows that's not actually how it works. Their migration timing is controlled by changing daylight, not by whether your feeder is full. So keep feeding them consistently through the colder months without guilt, because for a bird operating this close to its limits, predictability isn't a nice bonus. It's survival. And that brings us to the final step, the one most people are really here for, which is earning hand feeding the right way. This isn't about bribing a bird with sugar water and hoping for the best. It's the natural result of everything we just covered. Once you've built a reliable schedule, used the right colors, stayed visually consistent, and never broken their trust by leaving them without food, you've essentially become the most predictable, lowest-risk flower in their entire memory map. At that point, getting them to approach your hand is just the next small step in a pattern they already trust. Start by sitting calmly near your feeder so they get used to your presence. After a few days, try moving a small dish of nectar a little closer to where you're sitting. Once they're comfortable taking food from that spot, move it onto a table near you, then finally try holding a small amount in an open palm. Stay completely still and let them choose to come to you. There are a few important rules here. Don't try this during nesting season, since that's a stressful time you don't want to interrupt. Don't do it too often, because you don't want them associating every human they meet with an easy meal. And always keep your hands clean, with no lotion or sunscreen residue, since that can affect them, and skip the gloves too, since they can make it harder for the bird to land safely. When it finally happens and a tiny bird lands on your hand to feed, you're not just having a cute moment. You're watching the result of a memory system more advanced than most people realize, choosing you as worth the risk. So to put it all together, feed on a strict schedule because they're tracking time the same way they track flowers. Choose your colors carefully since they see light you can't. Stay visually consistent so they recognize you as a pattern. Never break their trust by withdrawing food when their energy margin is thinnest. And let hand feeding happen naturally once all of that trust is already in place. It's not about tricking a hummingbird into liking you. It's about understanding how their mind already works and meeting them exactly where they are. Let me know which one of these tips surprised you the most, and thanks for watching.